She survived machetes, mass graves, and the collapse of humanity in 1994. She lived through genocide. She rebuilt her life from ashes. But on a quiet afternoon in November 2024, Pauline Nduwamungu was silenced in her own home. Beheaded, buried like waste, and discarded as if her life had meant nothing at all. For Rwanda, this was not just a murder, it was a wound reopened. Hello, welcome back to the channel. Today we delve into the very tragic story of Pauline Nduwamungu, the Rwandan nutritionist who lost her life in the most brutal way. On the morning of November 15th, 2024, the green rolling hills of Akabungo village, Rubago Sale, in Ngoma District, woke to an ease no one could name. Pauline Nduwamungu, a 66-year-old woman known for her discipline and routine, had not been seen. No smoke rose from her house. Her door remained shut. Silence lingered longer than it should have. Concerned neighbors began to search. What they found would haunt the village and the nation. Behind Pauline's house lay a freshly filled composite pit, soil disturbed, hurriedly covered. When they dug, they uncovered her body, but it was incomplete. Her head was missing. In a country that has worked for 3 decades to heal from unimaginable violence, this discovery sent a chilling message. Some horrors had not stayed in the past. Pauline was not just another victim in a police profile. She was a survivor of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi, a woman who had lived through Rwanda's darkest chapter, a mother of 3 whose children were grown, married and building families of their own, a nutritionist at Truecrime Health Center, respected by colleagues and patients alike. Those who knew her described a woman of quiet strength. She paid school fees for relatives when she could. She mentored younger health workers. She listened. She helped. She endured. Pauline embodied the resilience Rwanda often speaks of, the idea that survival can become service, that trauma can be transformed into care for others. But beneath Rwanda's remarkable recovery, unresolved tension sometimes simmered: jealousy, resentment, lingering hatred. Pauline's murder would force the country to confront a terrifying question: how safe were survivors really? On November the 14th, 2024, sometime between 1 p.m. and 2 p.m., Pauline was attacked in her own home. No one had screams, no one reported a struggle. The village remained eerily quiet. The killer moved with chilling calm. Pauline was murdered, decapitated, and hidden. A body buried in a composite pit, a placement for decay. Her severed head was taken elsewhere and later discarded in a pit latrine, concealed in a way that suggested planning, not panic. This was not impulsive rage. This was deliberate cruelty. The brutality of the act shook Rwanda deeply. This was not just murder. It was symbolic violence. Beheading, an act meant to erase identity. Concealment, designed to delay discovery. And desecration, treating a human body as refuse. For genocide survivors, the fear cut deeper. Many had once hidden in pits, latrines, and shallow graves to escape death. Pauline had survived that era, only to be placed back into it decades later. Civil society groups spoke out immediately. Avega Agahozo, the Association of Genocide Widows, condemned the killing as a direct threat to survivor safety. Its vice president, Alphonsine Mukarugema, voiced that what many were afraid to say out loud. This senseless killing strikes fear into the hearts of survivors who have already endured unimaginable suffering. At Pauline's funeral, representatives from Ibuka, the umbrella organization for survivor groups, warned of a disturbing trend: allegations that elderly survivors were being targeted, intimidated, or silenced by individuals emboldened by money, influence, or unresolved hatred. Whether true or not, the fear was real. The Rwanda Investigation Bureau, RIB and Rwanda National Police moved quickly. Within days, several suspects were detained. Among them was a man known as Nziza, a resident of the same sector. Then came the confession. Nziza admitted to killing Pauline. He led investigators to a severed head hidden in the pit latrine. But it was his explanation that chilled the nation. During interrogation, Nziza claimed he had watched a film suggesting that a murderer's image remains imprinted in a victim's eyes. To prevent identification, he said he removed Pauline's head. Whether this was delusion, manipulation, superstition, or a calculated lie remains under investigation. When asked whether Pauline's status as a genocide survivor played a role, RIB spokesperson Thierry Murangira stated, "We cannot confirm or deny that her survival of the genocide was the motive. Investigations are still underway." The uncertainty only deepened public anxiety. Pauline Nduwamungu survived genocide. She survived loss. She survived history. What she did not survive was hatred, whether personal, psychological, or something far more sinister. Her murder stands as a brutal reminder that peace is not permanent, that reconciliation requires vigilance, and that survivors are not just custodians of memory. They are people still deserving of protection. As Rwanda mourned Pauline, it confronted itself. Justice may come through courts and convictions, but the deeper work, confronting resentment, fear, and the quiet normalization of cruelty remains unfinished. Pauline's life was one of resilience and service. Her death demands remembrance, accountability, and resolve. Because survival should never end in silence. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, share, and subscribe for more videos like these. Please stay safe, stay kind, and stay aware. See you in the next one.